Welcome to Packet Tracer 2.1.2.5. Here we're going to be troubleshooting serial interfaces. So our first step is to diagnose and repair the cabling. So we want to first examine the address table to determine the location of the DCE connections. So we can see here we have our chart S000 through S011 are DCE connections, which is our telco device. So we can go ahead and go there and use our show controllers command to see whether or not these are the DCE connections. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on our router, go over to the command prompt, enable show controllers. Let's start out with the first one, S000. We can see here this is a DCE connection, so that is good. Let's go ahead and go through each interface, make sure we're up and running. That's correct. Go on to our next one. Still good. And last but not least, here we go, DTE. So we're going to have to probably delete that cable, and we'll just put a new one. So let's go ahead and do that first step. Let's go here, get a delete tool, delete the cable. We're going to go down here to our connections tab, get the serial DCE with a little clock there. This is connected to our serial interface. And the same thing goes for S4, and we can see we're going to S001. Very good. So now we know that the DCE connections are correct. That is a good step. Now let's do the same thing on our routers individually. This one is a DTE connection, so that's good. This is all to be expected. Now we can see here, no serial cable attached. So more than likely, this cable is connected to the wrong port or interface. On R2, it should be connected to S001. There's no cable connected. So let's go ahead and move that over. S001. Okay, now we got a connection up and coming. Let's go ahead just for confirmation. Let's go ahead and show controllers S0. DTE looking good, so these are all good. And this is a little redundant, but you know, just for learning purposes. Okay, everything looks good here. So we can probably move on to our next step. Now, kind of jumped ahead. We diagnosed and repaired incorrect port connections. On R2, we clearly see that by looking at our connections. We can see that it was in the wrong port. Now what we want to do is diagnose and repair ports that are shut down. So a very simple way to do that and is to simply do a show IP interface brief command. So show IP interface brief, and it tells us whether or not our port is shut down. Now if we look at R3 at the table, it's S000 is our interface that we're using, and here S00 is administratively down. So let's fix that. Interface S000. No, shut. Oh. Shut. No, shut. Okay. There we go. Now we got our entire network here green, up and running, making connections. Let's still make sure that everything is correct. by looking at part 2, which is diagnose and repair the data link layer. So all the DC cables should be connected to Telco, showing the running config of Telco to verify that a clock rate has been set on each interface. Set the clock rate of any serial interface that requires it. Okay, let's do that. Let's see if there's a clock rate on each of these. So we just do a show run command. So we see interface S00 has a clock rate. S00 has a clock rate. This has a clock rate. Let's see if all 4 have a clock rate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, looks good. Looks like all 4 do in fact have a clock rate. So we're good there. Let's go ahead and exit out. Now, the thing we need to make sure as well is examine the encapsulation of DCE equipment. So all the serial interfaces should be using HDLC as the encapsulation type. Examine the protocol settings of the serial interface. So we can use the show interface command to do that. Let's go ahead and start. Paste S000. Okay, we're going to be looking at the encapsulation type, which is HDLC, which is the default for Cisco equipment. That looks fine. So we can move on to the next router. Do this for all 4. Do a show command here. Show interface S001. You see here, encapsulation is HDLC, so we're good. Let's move to R3. Do the same. HDLC. Same thing for R4. Show interface S001. Now this router is in fact using encapsulation, PPP, which is point-to-point. But what we're going to do is set that to HDLC. The way to do that is very simple. Do a config T, interface S001, and we're going to do an encapsulation HDLC. Enter. Okay, and that. Now, the last thing we need to do to verify our connection is verifying our IP addresses. Now, we want to look through these and make sure they line up with our table provided. So let's go ahead and look right up here. And let's take a look at R1, the S00 interface. We can see here is the IP address. So if we were to go to R1 and do a show IP interface brief command, we can see that the IP address is 64.134.17, and according to our chart here, it looks like it should be at .18. So pretty minor mistake. Let's go ahead and fix that. We're going to do a config T, interface S0 is 0/0. I'm going to do a no IP address 64.100.34.17, and I'm going to set the IP address now to 255.255.255.252. Let's not forget to put that to a .18. I'm going to end that. And let's go ahead and check if that's all. 100% complete. So that's the activity for Packet Tracer 2.1.2.5.